I'm Christopher McClure, IT Director and host of Manager's Corner. Every episode we remind you that your local government is here to serve you. We bring you your local department heads and staff and board and committee members and the people who make your local government run. Today we have a special guest, Geri Holland, the town clerk, who in many ways is the face of town hall. It's the one role that people think of when they think of town hall.
Okay.
But before we get started, I want to share an anecdote, and I think you can help me with this. I was at the senior center, and someone mentioned that they watched the show, and they said, "Yeah, but you say Hopkinton wrong."
They said that to you?
So, how do you say it?
How do I say it?
Because I'm evidently saying it wrong.
How do you say it, Chris?
I say Hopkinton.
Hopkinton.
I don't know if I throw a G in there every once in a while.
Oh, it's possible. People.
I try hard to say it correctly.
Yeah, Hopkinton. Yeah, Hopkinton.
So Hopkinton. Maybe I say it too quickly. I know it took several months to spit it out because there's a lot of consonants in the middle there.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So I'll make a pledge from now on to try to say it correctly, and I'll have all my guests correct me. But
that's funny.
So we do get feedback watching the show, and I appreciate the comment.
Okay, good.
So let's talk about the town clerk's office a little bit.
Okay. The town clerk's office is more or less, I would say it, since becoming the town clerk last May, is the gateway, really, to when people come into the town hall. They may come in for a dog license, but before you know it, you're speaking to them about another issue that's going on. Or they come in and our office would be one that you would come in to register to vote, and you're welcoming them into the community, and I will direct them over to the town's website to look at the annual town report, and it gives me an opportunity to speak about opportunities if they want to be involved or if they have an issue.
Right.
So we handle the much more than just dog licenses, which is rabies. Right now we have the 2014 street listing, or known as the census, that just went out, and we've received thousands of those just in this past week. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah. And along with the dog licensing, and that's a very important activity for this office, because we are held accountable through Mass General Law to be able to record who's living in town, who's moved out of town.
And for those people maybe who haven't filled out the census or not sure what it does, maybe explain why it's important and why we encourage everyone to fill it out and what that means for the town.
It is very important. It is a way of us recording who's living in the household, and the school uses us as a resource for the school children, which we're able to do under state law, so they can prepare for their classrooms. So we work with the school in regards to that. Also for voter registration lists, and ultimately in the end, how many people living in town, which could allow us to, through the state, to go for certain resources. They take a look at that. And then we do our 10-year census, which won't be till 2020. But we can see who our vets are, veterans, which is a really great thing. As soon as I can see someone's new in that, I will let the veterans officer know that. And it's a great way of us recording who's there and our needs. For instance, we have a new development in town, several new developments, and it's important for us to know the school children, the streets. We can add that to the list, and we work with the planning board on that, or the planning department. And so we gather multiple facets of information through the street census. So thank you, everybody, for getting those in.
Well, I know the town clerk does so many things. I'm going to start, listing and discussing some of them. And I know there's a couple things, though, that people still think the town clerk's office does, but that you don't do anymore.
Okay.
That, like fishing permits and
That's correct.
Passports.
And passports. Yeah, we do still receive requests for passports. It is on the town's out there that you can call the local town clerk's office. Several years ago, the state mandated that town clerks no longer do that because we handle the vitals, which is the births. So we can no longer do that. And the fishing, there is no other alternatives to. We haven't been doing that for the past year and a half or so. There are other alternatives. You can go on the state website. Also, you can go to sporting goods stores. And so that we no longer are doing that. So you can do that through those alternatives.
Let's get back to what
Thanks,
you
Chris.
do. So you birth certificates.
We handle all the vitals.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to talk about that?
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Actually, we have a state program, and we check the state program and to see the new births in Hopkinton, the people who are living in town. So the office is responsible. We are the record keepers in the office, whether it be births, deaths, and marriages. So with the births, if we focus on that for a moment, if the person was living in town when the birth occurred, we keep the records. And we will get occasionally a request for someone, and they have to go to their town where they were living at that time. So we don't cross over into other towns or cities. No. So we are the record keepers of that.
And you can produce certified copies for people if they
people
lost
need
it.
Yep, they're registering their kids for school, or that's basically, we get very busy at that time of year. We need in May or June, that type of thing. And we do provide certified copies of the births. Marriages, same thing. Couples can come in and file their marriage intentions in our office, and again, we will be the keeper forever. Your grandchildren will come back and say, I want to look at my grandparents. If they file their intentions in our office, we will keep those records. And then we prepare the marriage certificate, and they come back and pick it up in time for their marriage, and then we work whoever the person who married them, who officiated the wedding ceremony, will send it back to us, and then we input it, and we keep it hard copy, always, forever, in our vault. Death certificates, too. If the death occurred and the person was living in the town, that we will also keep those. And we will have people coming in asking for multiple copies of that, and we will certify that. The town clerk can certify.
Yeah. And you mentioned dog licenses.
Yes.
And just talk about what role that serves and why it's important. I know a lot of people sometimes think that they don't need to get their dog registered, but why that's actually important for the town, both from a record keeping and a safety.
Thank you for bringing that up, Chris. That's very true. Dog registrations are very important, and I will have conversations with people about that. They don't understand why they need to register their dogs, but it's actually a state law to have your dog registered, and it's a health issue. It's important to have your dog have their rabies shots. That can be a severe health issue. If we have rabies, it's not good. So this is a way of us knowing our dogs have their rabies. And also, if your dog is lost, we have the dog tag, and we can call the dog officer or the police department, and we work very closely with them. I remember the dog officer calling me. He had retrieved a dog, thank you, Bill Proctor, in one of the waterways, and he asked who owned a golden retriever, this dog tag number, and we need to contact them, and we immediately can go into the list, and the owners were very grateful that we worked very quickly and we worked together on that. So dog licensing is very important, which is why we have a deadline date mandated by the state, April 1st, and there's a late fee for that, $25 late fee. So I recommend that you come in and do that.
And I know we're about to start a project where we can start to map and make some of that information available to the dog officer and the police station, just for that safety standpoint, to let police and animal control know where the dogs are, what their rabies status is.
Absolutely, that's great.
History, et cetera. So.
And that goes back to you, Chris, working the IT. By the way, Chris is our IT guru, and he... No, it's great. No, I mean, it's just awesome that you're going to be mapping that out, and we can work much quicker and move forward in being able to respond very quickly. Especially if my dog took off once, and he never does that. He snuck out of the house. I call the dog officer. We go out looking for him. He never left the property. He slept under a tree. It was snow, and he was a white dog. And the next morning he came out, but there was Bill Proctor. Thank you, Bill. And Cindy, they were out there calling for him, and it's a very good, very quick response.
Well, let's talk a little bit, because we're almost that time of year where it's budget and town meeting, and elections is really the showtime for the town clerk's office, which is managing town meeting, elections, and you can start wherever you want on that topic. And I know it's big, but that's probably one of the most important things that you guys do, running the polls and making sure that people can exercise their right to vote.
Yes, and I just recently put out a message from the town clerk in the Independent. I really want to relay this information to the general public about what's happening and how they can, enact their rights to vote, et cetera. So we can come and get registered. And we will register you immediately if we can. The other thing is I put out the dates. We have the annual town meeting is May 5th. It's always the first Monday in May, and the town election, which is the continuation of the annual town meeting actually, is the third Monday in May, and that's May 19th. So we have a voter deadline, April 15th.
And you guys usually have extended office hours around election dates.
We will have extended office hours, and we will do what we can to help. I will stay if I need to, if someone's coming in. Then this year we have a state primary and a state election. So that will be in the fall, and those dates are September 9th and then November 4th. And that is on the town's website, and if anybody have any questions about that, to just call the office, and we'd be glad to help them through that. And this is, yes, I have an election calendar. It's very important that I work according to not only local government regulations, but state regulations as to when things have to be posted, and so the public can see what the warrant says. I will print up a voter registration list. Anybody who's inactive, because what happens if when you do not reply to your street census, we are mandated to make a voter inactive. Doesn't mean you're off the voters list, but we want to make you active again. So that's another reason why we want that. We like to have that information. And then what I'll be doing is contacting election workers, having training programs, making sure the machines are working correctly before the town meeting and the town election and the other elections. So yeah, there's a lot to do and a lot going on. The other thing I posted was the open positions for local government for that town election in May. And that's also posted on the website. And it's in and around town. So anybody has any questions about that, or if they want to run, they can come into our office and they can go for nomination papers, and you have to get 50 signatures. So come on down right now if you're interested. And those are due on March 31st. That's the deadline date if you want to run for a local position. At the annual town meeting, I just want to note that it's a very important role that town clerk has, is they take the minutes and they have to certify zoning bylaws and certify the minutes and submit them to the Attorney General's office within a certain frame of time. So that week is a very busy week for the town clerk. So, and may I note that I worked with the Board of Selectmen and the town manager for 17 years before that, so I brought that information that I had into the town clerk's office, which has been very beneficial for me.
So definitely encourage people, if you're not registered to vote, register. It's required to participate in town meeting. It's required to vote in any of the local, state, federal elections. Very easy to do. Come down to the town clerk's office and get registered to vote. I know one of the other roles at town meeting is we always approve the annual town report.
The budget.
And the budget. And working with the town clerk's office, and we'll talk about archiving a bit later, we've been able to scan annual town report back to 1940s, I believe, and making them, we're continuing to go back and making all sorts of documents through our document management system available online so that you can access that, along with old town meeting minutes and other minutes and documents going back, and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So we'll remind people that town clerk's office is on the first floor of the town hall.
First floor.
You're generally open.
We're open at 8 a.m. and office closes at 4:30. I will have extended hours on those dates that voter registration, the deadline, so the office will be open till 8 o'clock, and that is also posted. That will be out there posted. So we got extended office hours during the elections. Obviously, they're on hopingtonma.gov, right on the homepage under Clerk.
The town clerk's office also does a great job overseeing the public meeting calendar, which is on the web, and all of the agendas and that
Yes.
going out. And you know, if you follow us on any of our social media, on Twitter, Facebook, email, etc., you'll receive all those agendas and be able to keep up and stay involved in what's going on in local government. And I know you need election workers every year, and that's another opportunity for people to get involved.
Yes, yes. Actually, I want to work towards something, Chris, to have an application online to state what an election worker does.
Yep.
So I'm working towards that end, and I'll probably
Okay.
have something to you relatively soon.
Okay.
And then they can come in, and I will have a training with the election workers. So I want to have a fine-tuned running machine the day of the election, and it's very focused that day. But I can honestly say that I believe the election workers enjoy their time and when they come in, and they work hard. We do work hard. And I just wanted to go back a little bit on record keeping.
Sure.
And when you said, that was a good point about scanning. I wanted to continue from the previous town clerk in preserving our records. And I'm finding that some of our records go way back into the 1700s in the annual town report. And I had an incident recently, or a request for a town meeting vote that happened in 1919.
Right.
And the previous clerk did work very hard in getting all these preserved, so I'm continuing back to the 1800s to have these records preserved. I was able to, because of the great record keeping from the previous clerks, I was able to go into the 1919, find exactly what was needed, but I noticed the condition of that report.
Right.
And that's when it was great with working with you, Chris, and having all of these records not only scanned in, to preserve it in that way out into the cloud, per se, so people have access to it, but also to be able to use some of the CPC funds that were left over. But I also applied for some more CPC funds for the next town meeting, and hopefully the CPC committee will approve all of it or a portion of it. Would be great, and so I can continue to getting these other reports preserved for future for the future. And that's a very important part of our role. Births and it's not unusual to receive requests. Someone came in the other day, they needed to look at a town meeting from 1800s. And they wanted to find a vote, and they were able to find it because they're being preserved in our vault, which is great. And it's exciting to continue on with the excellent work that was before me.
Right. Well, I know we've had the library director on, and we've talked about the importance of archiving and the sort of the stewardship role that the town plays in preserving some of these documents that could easily be forgotten.
Yes.
And you have the vault at Town Hall, and we're making efforts to microfiche and scan things online and make them available digitally. But that's kind of an unseen role of the town clerk's office. It's just the huge importance of these. Like you said, it's going back to the 1700s. And I know, the town has been proactive in treating it professionally and seeking guidance from other towns and sort of getting examples and taking that very seriously, so that important history isn't lost.
The other part of it is preserving, but we also have the archiving project that you and I have been speaking about, and creating a, not just creating, but going off of what we have and implementing, so it's a more excellent program for the archiving system. And I actually, when I worked in the selectman's office, was the beginning of the archiving. And so I understand the whole process. So if somebody comes in, according to the state, we have to hold certain records for so many years. And we have a book that we go by. So each department has to keep these records for a certain amount of time. And when I can go and access the program and say what can be destroyed. And I'll pull it up, put it to the departments, they sign off on it, and then I send it to the state. And the state will sign off on it, and then we destroy it according to the Mass General law. Can't just say throw it out. So that's a very good, very excellent public record keeping, in a sense.
And I know that's one of the ongoing challenges the town faces, is just where to store some of the things we're required to store, and getting creative about that and preserving them. And
Yes.
et cetera.
Yes.
Well, let's take a step back for a minute. One of the things we like to do on the show is sort of introduce people to the person behind the role. And I know many people out there, watching are very familiar with you already. You've been a key player in the town and local government for a while. But for those people who may not know you, this is a kind of an opportunity to introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about your experiences.
Okay.
And your recollections of Hopkinton, how it's changed over the years and the different roles you've served. And
thank you, Chris.
yeah.
Well, my husband and I have lived here for over about 31 years. My two sons, we came from upstate New York. They came in grammar school years. One was in middle school at the time. And so I have seen the changes of the town. I first came here, it might have been 5,000-6,000 people. Now we're up to almost a little over 16,000. I've seen a lot of changes from the middle school to the high school, very positive changes. It's a wonderful asset for our community. And I mentioned before, I worked for the town in the Selectman's office since 1996, and came in at that time. And even that the town government was very different then. We had an executive secretary who really fell under the purview of the Board of Selectmen at that time, and we were a 3-member board. And then we went to a 5-member board, so I saw a lot of that change. And then I saw the change of the charter. And there was a creation of a committee, and then they had to go to the election, and then the charter. It was a really, it was a long process in a sense, but worthwhile, I believe. And then it had to be approved by the governor, the state. And so then we went to a town manager. And I was in the office at that time, so the first town manager come in and right up to Mr. Kamalo, who's now the town manager, and worked for Mr. Kamalo for several years before coming into the town clerk's office. And so I saw a lot of that. And the other involvement I've had in the community is whether in and out of my church affiliations, et cetera. But also I'm a local artist, and met my very, very good friend Cheryl Peralt in a town hall as her children were looking at an art show from Center School at that time. We started a conversation. Pretty soon we found that we had some commonalities, and she's a psychologist, poet, and I was an art therapist for the state, for DYS for a few years, and taught art in and around the community. And we decided that we would start to run what we call today the Women's Art Forum. And we held meetings in local places across the street, when it was another restaurant, which is now a different restaurant now. And it's not just Hopkinton, it's in and around the community. They would actually come from out of state sometimes. And we would feature a woman artist every month, just by the basis of what their interest was, whether they're a musician. We've had some really great times, a dancer. We even did a cappella. It doesn't matter where their degrees are from or if they do have or don't have a degree. It doesn't matter. We all come in on the same foundation, and we try to encourage women in one way or the other. So I've been doing that for many years with Cheryl, and we actually piloted a program at Serenity House and went in and did some I would do some art therapy exercises with them, and Cheryl would, whatever she would be doing would be a separate thing. And we try to pilot that, and I think with the busy life that I have, I still have my studio, and I am working with one person right now in confidentiality and trying to do a little bit of art therapy. So I will do that kind of more or less to nurture somebody through that process and healing. And so I don't know.
Well,
I've done a lot. I love our agencies, the Project Just Because with Cheryl Ann Lambert Walsh and the Respite Center. So yeah, I love this community.
Well, I think one of the things that makes local government, especially today, interesting is you have a very diverse group of people from different backgrounds that bring in you're not seeing people with the same experience coming in. So we have people from business background, private sector background, public sector background, the arts, sciences, et cetera. And then all together you're bringing in sort of new views and a different view that I think helps the town stay fresh and keep growing. And you know, I think it takes all those different perspectives.
It's a great team. It really is. All the years and transitions. And sometimes it's, you know, you're going through any type of change, but I believe that with the new town charter, and I can't say enough about the volunteers. I used to work with, you know, trying to help us, you know, govern Hopkinton, and I could mention so many selectmen that I've worked with. They're just incredible amount of energy in this town, and I don't want to even go down that road. You all know who you are, and I can mention different things, and you know, I could say that even the town government, you know, we have a section that are for people who are non-voters. It could be the high school students coming in, a student government program, for instance. That I would like to come in and try to go into the schools. I have goals that I would like to do and make it so that, have it so that the town hall is a place you can come and say, you came in to register to vote, and all of a sudden you're learning that this lady said something about the kindergarten, and I said, well, let's go and look at the agenda, and let's look at, and she had no idea that she could, that these tools are available to her, and that's the best part that I love. I just want to mention real quick, I know we're probably running out of time, and we also handle doing business ads. There's for small businesses to come in, and you can register your business's name and come into the office, and my assistant, Brenda McCann, and I will be there to help answer any questions. We also do raffle permits. There's so much more that we...
But we are out of time now.
All right. Oh, done. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Chris, for inviting me in.
But town clerk,
It's a pleasure.
definitely is a focal point and sort of the welcome gate to town hall. If you're in town hall, and even if you don't have any business, feel free to stop by and say hi to Geri and the new assistant town clerk, Brenda McCann.
Yes.
Hopkinton Town Hall, Hopkinton, you know, strives to have a customer service attitude. And even though you can do a lot of stuff online at hopkintonmaybe.gov and follow us on social media, et cetera, there's still no substitute for coming in and visiting and talking to people.
Yes.
So definitely don't be a stranger. And until next time, I'm Chris McClure, your host of Manager's Corner. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.